The Book of Enoch, fallen angels, forbidden unions, and the giants of old. Once upon a time, long ago, there was once a book so startling that early Christian leaders quoted it, alongside Moses and Isaiah. A book that spoke of angels who abandoned their posts, of giants who terrorized the earth, and of hidden chambers in the heavens. Yet by the time the canon was closed, this very book was cast aside. Today, most of us have never heard of it. It's called the Book of Enoch, and it challenges everything we think we know about angels, humanity, and our place in the cosmos. Think for a moment. What if the biblical narrative were familiar with Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel? The flood only scratches the surface of a far more complex story. What if, behind the lines of Genesis, lies a tale of divine rebellion and forbidden knowledge? That's what the Book of Enoch promises, and in this video, we're going to dive deep into its pages. We'll meet the Watchers, angels whose curiosity turned into disaster. We'll witness the birth of the Nephilim beings, half divine, half mortal, whose existence sparked chaos. And we'll journey with Enoch himself, the man who walked with God and returned bearing secrets no one was supposed to know. By the end of this exploration, you'll understand why the early church debated its place in Scripture, why some fringe researchers still cling to its accounts, and what echoes of its story might be hiding in legends, artifacts, and even modern conspiracy theories. So settle in, because the real story of our world's earliest days is far more dramatic and far more forbidden than you ever imagined. 1. Enoch, the man beyond mortal limits. Enoch is a curious footnote in Genesis. We learn his lineage: son of Jared, father of Methuselah, great-grandfather of Noah. But then, almost casually, the text says, Enoch walked with God. Then he was not, for God took him. No death, no burial, just gone. That single line sparked millennia of curiosity. How does a man simply vanish? What did walking with God actually involve? Jewish tradition filled in the blanks. By the 2nd century before Christ, a collection of writings circulated under Enoch's name, some calling it 1 Enoch, others the Ethiopic Enoch. These texts painted a vivid portrait. Enoch as an earthly scribe who earned God's trust, allowed to witness the machinery of heaven, and tasked with recording divine judgments. It wasn't a dry theological treatise. It told a gripping story. Angels deserting their heavenly posts, descending to earth in pursuit of forbidden desires. Giants wreaking havoc, and God's archangels delivering justice in ways that made the flood look almost mild. To early Christians, people like Jude, who directly quotes Enoch's, the book offered context for passages in the New Testament about ungodly angels and the judgment to come. Yet, as the church formalized its canon in the 4th century, the Book of Enoch was deemed too controversial. Some said its angelology was too elaborate. Others feared its dramatic judgments painted God as capricious. Whatever the reason, the text slipped from Latin and Greek Bibles, though it survived in the Gag language of Ethiopia, where it remains part of that church's Old Testament. 2. The Watchers, angels who could not resist. In the Book of Enoch, God appoints a special class of angels, the Watchers, to observe humanity and guide our development. They were meant to be guardians and teachers. But the very act of watching sparked desire. The Watchers saw human women, found them beautiful, and decided that divine directives were less important than following their own hearts. Legends say 200 of these angels made a pact beneath Mount Hermon. They vowed to descend together, take wives among the human race, and share power and inheritance. Their leader Semiezer spoke with irresistible authority. One by one, these angels abandoned their heavenly station, believing they could escape divine judgment, or perhaps even rule, a new hybrid world. But desire has consequences. The offspring of these unions were the Nephilim giants, with the strength of armies and appetites as large as their bodies. Some texts describe them as hundreds of feet tall, able to uproot trees and demolish city walls with a swing of an arm. Others focus on their brutality, how they slaughtered livestock, devoured children, and waged war on anyone who dared defy them. At the same time, the Watchers imparted forbidden arts to humans. They taught smithing and weaponry, forging swords and shields that transformed warfare forever. Makeup and adornment, using cosmetics to manipulate beauty and vanity. Astrology and divination, reading the stars to predict events and claim supernatural foresight. Sorcery and enchantments, summoning spirits for personal gain or deception. Each new skill seemed a gift, but as they spread, so did pride, corruption, and violence. Kings rose and fell by steel, empires built on the backs of the oppressed. Human hearts darkened faster than the Watchers could register regret. In Enoch's telling, the world teetered on the brink of chaos, and divine patience had its limit. 3. Enoch's heavenly journey, seeing the world plagued by these giant offspring and their corrupting influence. God chooses a chapter. At night, as men sleep and demons roam, Enoch is swept up from earth to heaven. He finds himself standing before towering gates, guarded by archangels, whose very presence radiates authority. First, he meets Uriel, whose name means Light of God. Uriel becomes his guide through the 7 heavens, each layered realm more dazzling and more terrifying than the last. Enoch sees the place of the luminaries, where the sun and moon are kept, following divine schedules that govern seasons and years. The storehouses of the winds, where breezes and storms gather strength before sweeping across the earth. The abyss of the fallen, a dark chasm where the Watchers writhe in chains, awaiting final condemnation. The reservoir of fire, whose raging inferno will one day engulf the wicked. The throne of judgment, surrounded by a great congregation of angels and elders, where the fates of souls, both angelic and human, are weighed. Enoch's heart races as he takes it all in. He observes the mechanics of justice, divine deliberation, and even mercy extended to repentant spirits. At each station, God's justice is both awe-inspiring and chilling. Mercy and wrath stand side by side, reminding Enoch and us how close blessing and judgment can be. Before returning, Uriel commands Enoch, "Write it all down. Let these revelations stand as a warning for future generations." Enoch trembles at the weight of this task, understanding how dangerous these truths might be if they fell into the wrong hands, but obediently, he records every detail. For the Great Judgment, dispatching the Watchers. Back on Earth, the scene is set for a decisive reckoning. The Nephilim rampage unchecked. The Watchers plead for mercy, but cosmic law is clear. Rebellion cannot go unpunished. Through Enoch's written words, we learn of a divine council convened at heaven's highest court. Semiezer himself appears before the throne, pleading for leniency. His voice, once so commanding beneath Mount Hermon, now quavers in the presence of ultimate authority. God decrees a sentence. The Watchers will be bound in the deepest pit, under the earth, until the day of judgment. Their leader, Semiezer, and his chief lieutenant, Azazel, received the harshest treatment, bound hand and foot, cast into darkness, and made a warning to all rebellious spirits. What of the Nephilim? Their fate is intertwined with humanity's greater judgment, the Great Flood. To cleanse the earth of wickedness, God unleashes the waters, wiping out giants and humans alike, sparing only those on Noah's Ark. Yet even in destruction, there is a measure of grace. Noah's family receives instructions to preserve life, rebuild civilization, and remember the covenant between Creator and creation. When the waters recede, the world is changed. The giants vanish. The watchers remain imprisoned. And Enoch's words, copied and spread among communities, become a scarce treasure window into a past too volatile to preserve in the mainstream canon. Why the book was banned. In our next episode, we explore the hidden reason for the Book of Enoch to be banned from the Bible. If this deep dive into forbidden scripture sparked new questions, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss what comes next. Share your thoughts below. What part of Enoch's saga unsettled you most? Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and remember, some truths may be hidden, but they're never truly lost. Thanks for watching.